Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. Before I get this lesson started, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakakadash, and double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, of whom I learn from, and shalom to the hopefully elect brothers taking this truth to the four corners of the earth, bidding the elect spirits of Yahshua to the marriage supper of the Lamb, who is Yahweh Shai. This is your brother Adah with another report. I want to show you something that's happening amongst Moab and all the other so-called Asian a lot of so-called Asian communities are uh, beginning to side with Jake and turn on Esau and admit that they were coaxed or led along or were given breaks against us, which goes into what it goes into. Let's get it real quick. Psalms 83. This is the foundation for this, that the other nations are in a covenant agreement with Esau as they rule against us to keep us down as a nation. Psalm 83, a song or psalm of Asaph. Keep not thou silence, O power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Most High. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Let's get the Edamon. Tumult. Hold on. Tumult. Sorry about that. Tumult. I think it goes into a noise, a confused, a disorderly speech, the noisy commotion of a multitude. So it's a bunch of people getting together, coming up with a fucking council against us, just bubbling. The niggers, the Judites, the Israelites. We gotta do something about God's chosen people. Blah 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 blah. That's what it goes into. The noisy commotion of a multitude, a noisy uprising as of a mob. Commotion, bustle, uproar, disorder, disturbance, okay? To be excited, to swell. Okay, so they're all just like what you see. They can't keep our names out their fucking mouth, right? So this goes into the elites, right? They're fucking fixated with us. So I'll start from the beginning. Psalms 83, verse 1. A song or psalm of Asaph. Keep not thou silence, O power. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O Most High. For lo, thine enemies, they make a swelling, they make a tumultuous uproar, right? And they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel. They have taken crafty counsel as a result of the tumult, okay? As a result of the tumultuous babbling and them coming together, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. This is where you see the jealousy and the envy and the hatred that everybody has for us. It all stems from this prophecy, man. Remember, prophecies are oracles that are programs that govern the minds of spirits. Okay, you got to understand that. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom. There goes a so-called white man sitting at the top of all this. The tents, that's what tabernacles are. The tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes. There goes your fucking Arabs. All right, Gabal and Ammon and Amalek. That's the head tribe of Edom, the so-called small hats. The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. There go your Hamites, man. That's your Africans. They're also a part of this, man. Ashur also is joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot, Salah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, and at the brook of Kishon. which perished at Endor, they became as dung for the earth. So now we see that the true Hebrew Israelites have a bunch of nations that hate them. Okay? Now let's go to this.
Thank you for setting me up to talk about this. I know that you and many other Black people know the answer, but it is something that I'm still processing.
And some brothers, I just heard Brother Nathaniel from the Atlanta camp. He did it. He's the reason why I'm doing this lesson, because he did a lesson on this very same woman on this exact same video. I might try to find him and pull him up. He's beginning to believe that she's a Jake, this particular sister right here, and I'm starting to think so too, because she's too passionate, and she's extremely skilled and very what's the word, professional, for a lack of words. She's just very professional and very skilled at just constantly, dude, Edomites stand up just so that she can decapitate them left and right. She's undefeated. She's just standing. Picture her by herself in a field with a sword, and she's surrounded by Edomites, and she's just taking the heads off of one by one by one with every one of her answers. Listen to this girl go in.
This thing, and it hits me really hard in the gut. And so I want people to understand that I am answering the question, what do I know? I'm not speaking for anyone. Many commenters today have pointed out how many affluent Black towns have been created and destroyed throughout United States history. And most non-Black people know about the Tulsa Massacre, Black Wall Street, Lake Lanier. But it was many Black towns. One commenter said over 60. And it's not that some Black people sometimes were able to establish a successful community that accumulated wealth. It's that Black people were consistently able to go anywhere and together establish strong communities that accumulated wealth and had education systems and businesses and were thriving. And every time it happened, people destroyed them.
Why though? Because we're not Black, we're the Hebrew Israelites, and white people are not white. They're the fucking Edomites. And that goes into the curses. Everything can be explained. Everything can be explained in the scriptures. You got to be able to read the scriptures. Okay, the tender and delicate woman. There goes the situations that we have with our women. Okay, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness. Her eyes shall be evil toward her husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and toward her daughter. Okay, there goes your family problems, your fucking marital problems. Let me find there goes our diseases. Let me see. I'm looking for the one where it says what will be spoiled. Let me see. You got fatherless in here. You got Black on Black crime in here. Latino on Latino crime on here. It's everything. Let me see. Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle. That's an indicator. What's the national bird of America? The so-called Edomites. It's the eagle. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old or show favor to the young. How have they judged us? It doesn't matter if you're fucking 80 or 95 years old. A cop will body slam an 85-year-old Black woman, Latino woman, Black man, Latino man to the ground. If you are 4 years old, they will shoot you in the fucking head. It doesn't matter. Remember, prophecies are oracles that govern the minds of spirits in the earth. The Most High is sovereign. This is a curse that doesn't exempt so-called Edomites from what they do, because you're going to be, they're under the power of this. Well, it also calls them our enemies. A nation of fierce countenance, right? I want to find the one. Let me see. Look at it. Let's look at 51. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou hast be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, the flocks of thy sheep, until he has destroyed thee. Verse 52. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down, wherein thou trustest throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which Yahweh thy power hath given thee. Right? And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, flesh. This is going into cannibalism. All the curses. Let me see. Here goes the curse of them, Psalms 83, of them getting above us. Verse 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. That's what you see with all these liquor stores and all these hair stores in our neighborhood, where you got the Koreans selling us hair, you got the fucking Arabs selling us goddamn fucking liquor and crack pipes and fucking zuzus and whammams, Debbie cakes and shit, making a fucking ton off of us, bro. That's what that goes into. Okay?
Time it happened, people destroyed them. And then as you progress through time, it becomes less acceptable to burn and flood and massacre entire towns. So again, you have the passing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964, and the United States opens the door to Asian immigration in 1965. The United States has a long history of using immigrants to get in the way of black people.
And that goes into this curse right here, 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. It also connects to Psalms 83, and that's the Edomites putting them in front of us, above us, to keep us down. But it's a curse, and it's done intelligently, premeditatively. This is all done on purpose. It's not an accident. And then they gaslight you and say you're nothing. When bro, we have hit so many fucking home runs in life. We have invented so many amazing things that contribute to society, but they will not acknowledge. And that goes into what? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, where they won't acknowledge your labors. No matter how much work you do, no matter, let me see, will stand, then the righteous man will stand boldly. Then the righteous man will stand boldly before, let me see. Yeah. Then shall look at Wisdom of Solomon. This is all connected. This is all connected to Psalms 83. It's connected to Deuteronomy 28. It's connected to their envy mentioned in fucking Ezekiel, that they have an envy for us. Then shall the righteous man, it's talking about the Hebrew Israelites, northern and southern kingdom. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors. Nothing you did, none of the music, none of the dances, none of the fashions, none of the cooking, the spices, none of the inventions, none of your mom or your grandmother breastfeeding their fucking children with her breast milk, none of the help that we gave them, none of the friendship, none of the advice, nothing, none of us helping them in all the wars they've been at with everybody else. Every time they were in a war, we went to go fight with them in a war and help them win a war. It doesn't fucking matter how much you contribute. They're not going to give you credit for anything. It's right here in the scriptures, bro. So you're wasting your time waiting to march, waiting to argue with them. Will you please acknowledge us? They're never going to acknowledge you, because prophecy says they can't and they won't. Verse 2, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear and shall be amazed at the strangeness of our salvation. And that's when the chariots, the UFOs, come to get the elect. So you can see all of the scriptures. People.
And so I think that this system of using immigrant-owned businesses in black communities is designed to siphon wealth away from black communities. And another commenter asked me, why do I think that people are afraid of letting black people...
Every time you see her show her palm, you know she's talking about Edomites.
People build their communities and accumulate wealth and to thrive. And we see it so many times. It's because they fear revenge, because they know what they have done to black people. But again, we have been told that if black people wanted revenge, it would have happened already. That is not what they...
And look at this Asian Americans break silence again. We stand with blacks. Of course, they're talking about the Hebrew Israelite. We want unity with blacks now. Why? Because they're beginning to see the what do you call it? Yahweh B'Shem Yahshai in prophecy is lifting the veil. He's lifting up the skirt. Look, we've been worshiping whiteness. Please forgive us, black people. I remember the girl in the middle, the really cute one. She was talking shit, man, about Edomites. But this is but it's all prophecy, right? Everyone's beginning to turn against the so-called white men.
Want. And I think that people think that the violence and exploitation and abuse of power that they have exacted upon black people and all black, brown, indigenous, and people of color is a universal human trait, and that if anybody has that wealth and power, then they would return that evil in kind. But it's not. It is specific to, and all black people want is to be allowed to thrive and accumulate wealth and exist.
And let me correct that, because the elect understand what prophecy says as far as punishment is concerned, and Esau has to go into slavery twice as long. That's in Obadiah, that's in Isaiah 14. Esau has to be punished with pain twice as long. It's even in Revelations. Punish her, give her twice as much as pleasure as she's lived in. We understand what the scriptures say, and balance has to come to the universe by Esau and the nations going into slavery. So we do want balance, but we want it according to prophecy, and no one understands that except for the hopeful elect.
As other people. I find that a good way to help people who have a different lived experience than you exercise empathy for the struggles that you face that they may not be familiar with is to help them understand. And I was hoping that you could help me understand what anti-white racism looks like. Can you tell me about how you don't know where your ancestors came from because they were kidnapped and enslaved? Or how you don't know what languages they spoke, what spiritual practices they had, or what traditional knowledge that should have been your birthright was lost? Not because they were allowed to and wanted to assimilate, but because their enslavers or residential schools forced them to assimilate. Can you tell me about how your ancestors had explosives tied to them while they were building the United States railroads? And then as a show of appreciation, they were excluded from society for nearly 60 years? And could you tell me about the hundreds of towns that were destroyed, like the black towns and China towns and Japan towns, all destroyed by the same demographic? Can you tell me about the children who were unalived because they whistled at a woman or because they floated in a lake a little too far past the segregation line? And can you tell me how it was for your parents and your grandparents to be United States citizens who were put in internment camps on United States soil? Can you tell me how it was for your family to live in the back of their store because people who look like you were not allowed to purchase or rent homes? And could you tell me how it was for your parents and for you to shed blood, to be treated as human, as equal, and to be allowed to simply share the same space as other people? Can you tell me about the conversations that you have to have with your children about police interactions? And could you tell me about how your mother and your sisters and your daughters are concerned about having children because of lack of equitable access to health care, because doctors were told that people who look like you can't feel pain? Can you tell me how it feels to know that your ancestors lived here for thousands of years, but when you try to come here, you and your children are put in cages? And can you tell me how it felt when a few years ago, the president entertained having people who look like you expelled from the country again?
That's the second Ezra's Inquisition. I will begin to make Inquisition. This is happening, man. Second Esdras. Inquisition. Yeah, that was it. Let me see. There it is. Look, so remember, prophecy are oracles that are programs that govern the minds of spirits. What does that mean? The world is a movie. It's a computer program. And the Most High's pen, his hand, his books, the things he writes, the things he types in through his right hand, Allahayim, and through his left hand, Allahayim, Those are the mighty ones that are surrounding his throne with the wheels of fire. Those are the chariots, the UFOs. They once they are sent with an order, they come into the earth, and by the Spirit they're able to blow, they're able to speak, they're able to control the minds of the kings. The heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord. The heart of the king is in the hand of Yahweh, and he turns the minds. The word heart means lob. It's talking about your mind. He turns the mind whithersoever it listeth. And the people, right, the officers, as the judge is, so are his officers. So it's all rank and file. The minute the Most High turns the government, the minute the Most High turns the minds of the bankers, the government, the House, the Senate, the television, the media, the churches, everybody begins to follow order. So 2 Ezra 6:19, and I will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness. And when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled, that's talking about your elect. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away, as somebody Esau's world, Esau is the end of the world, the beginning of it, Jacob is the beginning of it that follows, shall be finished, then will I show these tokens, the book shall be opened, and that's what's happening now. We're opening the books by the Spirit, by wisdom, knowledge, understanding, by this breath. We're opening up the prophecies, right? The book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. So the firmament's talking about your internet, YouTube, your TikToks, and your all your other internet outlets, the other social medias, BitChute and stuff like that. Okay, that's what this is going into. What's Inquisition? Look at this, Inquisition. Let me see if I'm spelling it right. Inquisition. No, I'm not. Hold on, Salakia. Inquis. Inquisition. Look at this. It's a judicial investigation. And that's why all these mouths of all these nations are beginning to speak against Esau, Edom, because they're the focal point. They're the ones under judgment now. It's time for them to drink the cup. He reserves the wicked. He reserves the day of judgment, or the wicked for the day of evil. The last judgment has been reserved for the Edomites this whole time. Judicial investigation, act or process of inquiry, to look into, to investigate. And that's what the angels, what are the angels? What are the hosts? They are the eyes, the eyes that shine brighter, 10,000 times brighter than the sun. The eyes of Yahweh are everywhere, beholding the good and the evil. They're watching and they're reporting. They're taking all the reports back to the Most High. And it's time. A searching into, a seeking, a legal examination, a seeking of grounds for accusation. This is what is happening with the Edomites right now, you guys. And all of these nations are involved. They're all beginning to realize what the fuck is going on with this race of people. They're not who they've ever said that they are.
Entertained having people who look like you expelled from the country again. Can you tell me what anti-white racism looks like beyond having your feelings hurt, feeling uncomfortable, and having your sense of superiority challenged?
See, she's a spirit of vengeance, you guys. She's too good. She doesn't even come from a scriptural perspective. She specifically only comes from a secular, historical, but she's really good at it. The Spirit's on her to do this. She's too consistent, you guys. She's on TikTok. She has a TikTok handle. She's too consistent. She's been doing this for years now. She hasn't burnt out. She hasn't changed her mind. She hasn't stopped. She consistently has her mouth. Her claws are on the neck of Esau, bro. She's got the same mellow, consistent, fuck you attitude. But she's very professional, right? Which is a part of her success. She's very kind of quiet. She doesn't yell. She doesn't cuss. But she just brings out these scathing fucking examples over and over and over again. She's set up by the Spirit to do this.
And when you're done telling me what anti-white racism feels like for you, could you please tell me why you're not fighting to end racism for everybody? Yes, this is really important. Asian Americans were redlined from opening businesses in white neighborhoods because white people didn't want Asian Americans operating in their neighborhoods and didn't want Asian Americans profiting off of white people. But because the positionality of Asian Americans is weaponized to oppress black people...
Y'all ever have somebody from opposing how her community...
I got the viral boneless couch because I need...
uncomfortable. And honestly, we amplify. Drop a comment further. Focusing on how a model when a group that followed.
Violence faced by black people in their own communities when they are disrespected as customers, to the literal physical violence, as was the case of the salon in Brooklyn, where a black woman was locked into the salon by workers while they beat her with broomsticks, to the damage done to the psyches of particularly black children when they are accused of shoplifting. And this isn't a topic that I'm going to be able to cover in one video, but it is a conversation that I do want to start.
Now look, we're not here to say that the 2/3 of Jake, of our people, are innocent. We're not going to fucking do that. This is about righteousness. This is about holiness. This is about Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. This is about telling our people their sins, letting them know the words of prophecy, and telling you if you are so-called black, Latino, and Native American, you need to fucking repent. And you need to come to Yahweh Shai. You're not black, you're not brown, you're not Mexican, you're not Cuban. You are a Hebrew Israelite, and Yahweh Shai shed his blood for you to restore you, and you got to repent. We're not here to have people stroke our fucking egos. Oh, she's standing up for us. Just like how when somebody so-called white stands up for us and everybody just gets all fucking happy about that dumb shit. That's not what this is about. That's not why I'm making this video. We're not here to fucking to revel in those crumbs. We want absolute destruction in America. We want absolute justice on Esau, and we want absolute justice on the heathen nations. And we also want justice on the 2/3, man. We want Yahweh Shai to come and rule from the throne of David, and we want his kingdom to be established in the earth, and then throughout the entire universe, his rulership, okay? But we're not here to fucking, pat ourselves on the back because she's saying this. Let me pull up one more person, just to give you another example.
White people weren't the first to create slavery, and you have the IQ of my neighbor's dog. Slavery in America was really fucking bad. The Koreans. What? The Koreans. What about the Koreans? The Koreans did it longer than us. Okay, so it sounds like you understand that slavery in Korea was bad, which also means that you agree slavery in America was also fucking egregious, right? The Japanese. Oh, come on, man. What about the Japanese? The Japanese did worse stuff to the Chinese, and y'all never talk about that. First of all, comparing tragedies is just not okay. Second, what the fuck does this have to do with slavery in America? Oh, fine. You want to talk about America? Let's talk about America. Only 1.5% of Americans have slaves back then. You know how expensive a slave was? And the majority of those people were Jews. The Jews control everything. You obviously got that from the Crackers book, so it's not true at all. Even if it is true, that's still really fucked up. You know that, right? The Arabs did it first. Do you see how stupid you sound? Do you see how you just got that Arkansas type of ignorant? Every day I go online, I just keep finding more shit to add on to the Crackers book. By the way, before I leave, this narrative doesn't even fucking work. Because let's just say this is true. Let's just say Jewish people do really control everything. For example, these 4 people here, all of them big names in Hollywood, all of them of Jewish descent. Guess what they all have in common, though? They're all fucking white passing, you dickhead. They are benefiting off this system because they are white passing, not because...
And he doesn't understand that the Amalekites are the head tribe of the Edomites, and they're all the same. But my point is showing you, here's another Asian-looking man who could be a Jake, but what's he saying? What's the common denominator? The so-called fucking white man. You see this? That's what the common denominator is. Why is this happening? Because Esau is the wicked, and the wicked has been reserved for the day of judgment, and we are approaching that day of judgment, which is Yahweh Shabbat, which is the day of the Lord in English. It is the Armageddon, the war of heaven. There is a shift in power. There's a shift in rulership. We're about to enter into Jacob's trouble, and the only way to correctly discern and interpret all these things as according to the spirit of prophecy, which is the testimony of Yahushua, who is as the wise man who knows the interpretation of a thing. Well, who is the wise man? The wise man is Yahweh, and his son is also the wise man. And what does it say? Wisdom makes a man's countenance to shine, or his face to shine. Well, who is as the wise man and who knows the interpretation of the thing? The face of Yahweh, the face of Yahushua. That's where the wisdom is, man. The spirit of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding gives us the ability to interpret these situations correctly.
I do want to start. I think that if you ask some people what was the source of the tension, they'll say the LA riots and what happened in Koreatown.
So look, you see another video. Black Americans have entered the Asian chat, right? We stand with the blacks, meaning we stand with the Israelites. We want unity with the blacks. This is happening, you guys. This is 6 days ago, 17,000 views. 2 days ago, 14,000 views. 15 hours ago, 5,000 views. This is another. I mean, we're truly jealous of the black power and culture. These are white people admitting this shit. White folks admit they're jealous. What does that go into, though? It goes into fucking Ezekiel. Let me see if I can pull it. Because of the envy, it's in Ezekiel. Let me see, envy. Watch, it should pull out. It should be in 36 or 35. Yep. Therefore, look, so Ezekiel 35:11. Therefore, as I live, as saith the Lord power, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. Who's he talking to? He's talking to Esau. Here, let's pull it so you guys can see it more clearly. So starting at verse 7, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate. Mount Seir is synonymous with Idumea and Basra and Edom. Those are all references to the so-called white man, you guys. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, verse 7, and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. Verse 8, and I will fill his mountains with his slain men in thy hills and in thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. I will make thee perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh of hosts, Yahweh Tazabah. Verse 10, because thou hast said these two nations, going into the northern and southern kingdom now, it's getting very detailed, the Latinos and blacks, so-called blacks and Native Americans, because thou hast said these two nations and these two countries shall be mine, we will possess it, whereas Yahweh was there. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will even do according to thine anger and according to thine envy, which thou hast used out of thy hatred against them, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. And thou shalt know that I am Yahweh, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies. There goes that tumult, all the shit that you guys have been talking behind our backs, which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel. Talking about the rulership, the elect, saying, they are laid desolate, they are given to us to consume. Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. Thus saith the Lord power, when the whole earth rejoices, I will make thee desolate. As thou didst rejoice at the entrance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Idumea, even all of it, and they shall know that I am Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, Yahweh Tazabah. Bro, this is, dude, there's no getting around this, man.
And they'll say the LA riots and what happened in Koreatown, but you cannot mention the LA riots without recognizing the unaliving of Latasha Harlins the year before. A 15-year-old girl who was unalived by an Asian shop owner who thought that she was shoplifting orange juice, but the money to pay for the orange juice was in her hand when she was unalived. To overlook that is to value profit and property over black bodies, which is at the root of the United States systemically racist system and capitalism. But I think that we have to go all the way back to the Civil Rights Amendment of 1964 and then the opening of Asian immigration in 1965.
See, she opens up, and what does this go into? It goes into Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2. How these fucking bastards write their goddamn laws. And here you have this woman, we believe she's a Jake now. She's not even using the precepts, bro. She's physically coming from a secular perspective, and she's pointing out the wicked fucking consistencies and how this motherfucker writes his laws. If you go into Wisdom of Solomon 2, this is a very good example. It's another example of how these bastards wickedly write policy.
So in 1964, white power structure almost faced accountability to black people. Black people should have started to be able to receive loans to open businesses in their own communities. But instead, in 1965, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration, and redlining meant that Asian Americans were receiving business loans, but only to open businesses in black communities, and black people were still not receiving loans to open businesses in their own communities. So where you have this weaponized positionality...
And what does it say in Proverbs? The borrower is servant to the lender. So either way you look at it, Esau is in a position of power, giving out loans, giving out money to whom he chooses, putting Jake all the way at the back and putting the heathen in front of us, which lines up with all of the precepts of how Esau would get down with Jacob and what Jacob would go through with fucking Esau and the heathen nations. There's no other fucking people groups that line up with these prophecies the way they do, yet you got fucking Negro Christians and fucking Peckerwood fucking Christians talking about the white man's not Esau, and you guys aren't the Hebrew Israelites, yet everything perfectly fits in prophecy when you break it down the correct way. Fucking assholes, man.
Of Asian Americans being put in black people's way, of course you are going to have resentment not only over the supplanted opportunity to open businesses in their communities, but also over the fact that the black dollar is now being paid out twice. Once when the customer pays for the goods or services, and then again when the Asian business owner removes that wealth from the black community. And I frequently heard the tension being framed as mutual misunderstanding, where these Asian shop owners didn't know about the civil rights struggles of black people, and black people were not familiar with the culture of Asian business owners. But I don't think that it can be framed as mutual misunderstanding where there is an uneven power dynamic. You have one demographic that is the business owners, and you have the other demographic that is having to pay. So where there is uneven power, I don't think that it's accurate to frame it as mutual misunderstanding. So my ancestors were asked by white men to come to this country, which they had stolen and forced black people to build, because they were hoping that my ancestors would be the new cheap and disposable labor to undercut the recently freed black people that lazy white men didn't want to pay. And when my ancestors wouldn't do that, they were lynched and massacred, their towns were destroyed, they were blown up while building the railroads, and ultimately they were excluded from society and the country for nearly 60 years.
So everything is coming out. You got multiple witnesses. Again, the Inquisition is being made. The wicked has been reserved for the day of judgment, and this is what we were entering into. This is why all this is happening. And Esau, the so-called white man, is the wicked. The wicked is reserved. Is reserved. Is reserved. Reserved for the day of evil, which is Yahweh Shabbat, for the day of evil. Let me see if that pulls it up. Boom. There it is. Job 21:30, that the wicked is reserved to the day of destruction, they shall be brought forth to the day of wrath, okay? And here you got Proverbs also. Proverbs 16:4, Yahweh hath made all things for himself, yea, even the wicked for the day of evil. And how do we define the wicked? You go to Malachi. They shall call them the border. They shall call them the border of wickedness. There it is, man. Whereas Edom says, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them, who's the they? The elect. Those of us who are operating in this truth, the new song, we're harping with the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding given to us by Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, the border of wickedness. Who shall be called the border of wickedness? Edom, Mount Seir, Idumea, Basra. That is the wicked. And so we see what? We see the so-called white man who's gone the longest, being an asshole, doing all kinds of shit. They're getting ready to steal fucking Venezuela's oil right now as we speak. They're fucking actively kicking out and oppressing the Northern Kingdom, the Latinos in America. They've been oppressing the Southern Kingdom here. Okay, they're getting on TV. They're just talking all this shit. They're telling you they're the race of people that has the technology to bring about the MOTB. They're the nation. They're the race of people that has the banking families amongst them that can shut down financially and lead the earth into the fucking direction of the MOTB. They are the man of sin. Yet you still have all these people still fucking drunk on their fucking enchantments, still believing like I got my mom, bro. She thinks these people are just the fucking most amazing thing ever, bro. Nothing the white man can do no fucking wrong, bro. I can't stand people like that, bro. You will know them by their fruits. You see what these motherfuckers are doing compared to everybody else on the planet. And now we have other so-called nationalities coming out saying the same shit about these motherfuckers, yet people still, and their own people, look at all the witnesses, man, just in this one thread. Look. You have a so-called Moabite, or I believe she's a Jake. Look.
In the country for nearly 60 years.
You got her.
Then when the United States asked...
You have her bringing out extreme, detailed, non-stop evidence against the so-called white man. Look. You got Edomites. Latinos and Asians are obsessed and mad because, I don't know about that one. But look, we're truly jealous of black power and culture. That's Ezekiel 35. Okay, that's Edomites, right? Then you got black Americans have entered the Asian chat. We are infamous. That's also in Ezekiel 36. We're on the mouths of everybody. Everybody's talking about Jacob. Everyone's talking about the house of Jacob. We're the topic of everyone. Everyone's thinking about us, and everyone's thinking about Esau. We stand with the blacks. Why? Because there's an Inquisition that's being spread all over the earth because it's prophecy. It is time for the day of evil. It is time for Yahweh Shaphat. Look, we want unity with the who, and most likely a lot of these are probably Jake, you guys. A lot of these so-called looking nations are that have a heart for Israel, have a heart for the Hebrew Israelites, quote unquote blacks and Latinos. Many of them are probably freaking Israelite spirits, man. They're just in speckled bird bodies. You know what I mean? They just the cute confusion of face or whatever. Look, man, white people react to unfiltered black history, right? Which is fucking Jacob's history. Black people are supernatural beings. They go off on this, but everyone's focus is what? Everyone's looking. Why can't black Americans be deported like us? Everyone is waking up. It's just in this one thread alone. Been worshiping whiteness. Please forgive us blacks. So you got people realizing how wrong they've been to look at Esau the way they've been looking at him. And the veil is being torn away, and people are like, "What the heck have we been doing, man? We've been messing with with you guys to side with Esau." So it's an endless amount of, and it's just more information is going to keep coming out. So I'm going to end it here because of the lesson's getting kind of long. But you can see this lady, bro. I mean,
to come back in the 1960s because they wanted to put us in the way of black people again, and the United States needed to rehabilitate its reputation with Asian countries that were gaining in economic and political power. We had civil rights because of black people. You're obviously not aware of this, but...
And that goes into what? Jacob being the former of all things, man. So I pray that this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakodash, and double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone of whom I learned from, and Shalom to the hopeful elect, taking his truth to the four corners of the earth, bidding the elect spirits of Yasharallah to the marriage supper of the Lamb, who is Yahweh Shai. This is your brother Adam, man. Shalom.